you to do all that you can to set some goals in 2023 to get across your finish line in any one of those six transactions that I know we continue to talk about that can help you to just be more financially well, individually and collectively in your community. And so go Chiefs. Go financial empowerment team. Go Miss Bree. Go everybody. And I just really want to say thanks. And Miss Bree, I know that there are some areas that it seems like people in one of our last surveys, there was some three areas that they really hit us on that they wanted us to talk about. And so if you can't, what are those? What are we going to hit on today?
Yes, ma'am. So the main three areas that we are focused in today is going to be home ownership
Yep.
for number one. The second is going to be savings and investing. Amen. Okay, let's
Yep.
set for our future. And then insurance and estate planning. Let's concrete our future. Let's go.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you. And the reason I wanted to make sure that we're pulling out those three, because you all listened to us and we just thank you for that, just period. But then even afterwards, you all helped us to say, okay, great. This is a good start. We want to hear some more about, and there were many topics that we chose. So we picked the top three to just kind of hit on today. Of course, we went back, we did more of our research in our own, perspective areas that we're really, solid and experts in. And then the other areas as well that are there, but we're not the expert, but we're going to be bringing them in. And so one of the things that's going to help us to be able to bring the experts to you in the way that you want us to bring it to you is to make sure that we understand your questions. So if you will, do us a favor. As we share the information, be sure to either go into, if you're on Facebook, go into the chat. If you're on Zoom, if you're on YouTube, you can leave a message. And then, of course, when you do the survey, you can, once you do the survey, you can say, this was good. I still have a couple of specific questions. And that's how we really come back with the information that makes sense and is practical to you. The six transactions will always hit on. But within those six transactions, we all have individual questions that really pertain to our situation, to our life, to my money and to my business, to your money and to your business. And that's kind of what we're trying to do today. So, Ms. Bree, you hit that home run in that home ownership. That was the main thing people wanted to know about. And so if you can, give us a couple of clear tips of what people, if that's where you are right now, that's your goal, then just a couple of starters of where they start. And then of course, you'll ask us questions and we'll answer more, but we don't want to just talk. I can talk, but you know what I mean. Go ahead,
Yes.
please talk to us.
Yes, ma'am. So whenever I do have any meetings, which by the way, Ms. V, thank you so much for that segue. That was wonderful. Go Chiefs, by the way. Whenever I do have conversations, whether you're going to the buy or the sell side, more predominantly the buy side, the first two things I always say is have a conversation with a realtor and then have a conversation with a lender. Now, of course, this is whenever you take the steps of, I've already decided I want to buy a house. Now is the time, because I'm pretty sure, as you guys have heard from me multiple times, it's all about your mental mindset. What have you set in your mind? What are your goals? But the next step with taking that time to speak with a realtor is first to be able to get a clear and concise understanding of what you need to do to start the process. Someone who is an expertise or expert in the real estate industry, so they know what's going on and know what the interest rates are doing. They have a basic understanding of carrying someone from the beginning to the end. And then a lender. If you don't know what money you're moving with, you're not going to really know which houses you can look in or what areas you can focus in or what realistic conversations you need to have with your family. So that way you guys know exactly what your needs and your wants are. Establishing those needs and wants are very important, but just really getting that conversation with a realtor and a lender, I would say, would be your first two steps.
Absolutely, because no, thank you. Because I think about with the realtor, I could see 55 houses that are great. But depending on if I have, kids, small kids, grandkids, I'm going to be looking at school districts. And some people, they're moving from out of town. And even though they're like seeing from wherever they are, they're seeing properties, but they don't really know what the dynamics are, school district, grocery stores, all that stuff. And the realtor can help us to really understand is what I need in that neighborhood.
Spam.
You know?
Spam. Very much so.
Good stuff.
Realtors,
And then
they're
of course
very
the pre-approval.
Yes, ma'am. Yep, and that's where you come with the lender. The pre-approval is very important because if you do find a house, even in what the media is kind of saying with the market, there are still houses that are flying off the shelves. And if you don't have that pre-approval letter ready to go with the contract or the paperwork that your realtor will write up, then you very well might miss out on an opportunity for the house that could be for you and your family.
Let me ask you a question though. So I remember a time when before I purchased way back in like I moved here in 97, so 98. And I was pre-qualified. So there's a difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Very much so. The difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval, just from my realtor perspective in my lane, pre-approval is pretty much a very high level. Hey, this is what I make. These are the basic levels of my debt. My credit has been ran, and they have done a basic computation of your debt to income ratio. And this is the number that they come up with what your pre-approval amount is. So that's what you go out and search for. When you work towards a pre-qualification, that's when they take that deep step into your finances. They check your tax returns. They verify your employment. They do all of the steps that they typically do after you've gone under contract for a house before you go under contract. And what that does is it gives you a power move because most folks are coming with a pre-approval, which with having that pre-qualification, it can shorten the process. So that way, then you can offer a faster close. You come across as a very strong buyer because you've pretty much already been pre-qualified and saying for sure, this is what I make, this is what I can afford, as opposed to sometimes with the pre-approval, the numbers may be a little inflated and can cause you some issues towards the end. It's kind of a high level explanation.
No, that's good. That's good because I mean, sometimes you get both. Even like sometimes you'll get like credit cards and stuff sent to you, and it says you've been pre-approved. And then on all these letters, you've been pre-approved. But then if you go and apply, you don't like open it up and can spend it.
Yes,
and so I'm like, so I can't just spend this. So they want you to then go and do the extra steps. And for me, especially when you talk about the taking your credit and stuff like that, when you're in the process of trying to buy a house, I remember that they always said, don't do extra things. Don't like go try to get credit cards or go do different things that are going to hit your credit or impact your debt to income ratio, because that's what they're looking at. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Those I do call those my thou shalt nots.
Okay.
Pretty much just anything that can change exactly what you said, what can change your credit score or change your debt to income ratio or change what they pre-approved you based upon. Anything that hits your credit after the fact, or if you do create and open up more credit cards or more debts, can really run you out of whatever you were pre-approved for. And that's a really sticky space to be right now with where interest rates are. So it could legit be 1% difference between whether you qualify to buy a house at all or not. And that's just market.
I can do that. No, thank you. And I'll just do a quick plug for, one of our experts, Mr. Whitney Morgan. He does a lot of personal credit, kind of guidance and assistance and counseling. And he'll be joining us, someday really soon, and kind of sharing more of that. And then also his business partner and their partners, Mr. Durrell Johnson, does the business credit side. And so those weren't three of the things that were highest on your list. That's the only reason they're not here. But because she's mentioned credit several times, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned it also. Because what if, you're like, okay, great, I've done some of that stuff. And even though that's not the three you're talking about today, she's mentioned it 3 or 4 times. So who is that going to be? So want to make sure that if there's something you want to know about that, just when you do your survey, just kind of plug that in and say, okay, heard my credit 5 times. Can y'all bring them on? Because that's what we want to do. We want to bring on the people that you want to hear and stuff. So just wanted to do that. So that's good. So thank you for that piece. Let us, we're going to dive into that second one where we talked about savings and investing, was the highest, number two highest thing you talked about. And so what I'm going to do on purpose is this is Make It Rain by Mr. Versi Lark. He's one of our other experts. This is a book that all of us write, all of us kind of in the network. We've read this book, we've done things in it, we talk with him and others in regards to increasing your wealth and financial security. And this is one of the books that I was trying to give away if people answered that question right last week. So I'm not giving it away this week, but we'll come back and do that. And then eventually we'll be having them so that you can, grab them and talk with us and work with us as we're going through some of the topics. Mr. Versi is, very open to that. And he's a teacher and a speaker on this issue, as really we all are. And so he's allowed us to be able to share his book, some topics. And so when I'm going to look at it just with you, and only because of savings and investing, in his second chapter in the book, one of the things that he hits very hard on is earning more money. And the reason I wanted to do this chapter 2, once we saw, the 3, I'm like, okay, where do I want to start making sure I'm doing some more of that research? And so we can give it to people if they want it and don't want to grab it or something. And one of the big things is, like Miss Bree said, when you want to go buy something, they're not only going to check your credit, they're going to see if you have a deposit, but they're going to see what your income is. And so let's, say you're making $30,000 a year and you want a really, really nice house, and you may not be able to get it for that income. So let's just say you go and you get pre-approved and your credit's good, but the house you want, you can't get. So do you stop there? Or do you do a Patrick Mahomes on that ankle and move anyway? And because that boy, I was like, oh my gosh, he was so great. He kept moving. The reason I bring that up is because once you set your goals, and if you know that the house that you want or the car that you want, I mean, whatever it is, or the investment, the retirement that you're shooting for, once you set your goals and say, this is what I'm shooting for. And then if you know that they're going to be wanting you to have, let's say you make 30, as we said, but you're going to need to be making 45 or 50,000. So what do? Just give up? No, you go figure out how to make more income. And it could be doing some investing. But again, if you're not great at investing and doing the market and all that, I advise, I'm not a stockbroker, nothing like that. So that's Mr. Brian Ross. Don't just go put your money in stuff and hope that, it's going to turn you back around a whole lot of money, to, buy the house. But there's so many things you can do to make sure that you're working on raising your income. And one of the big things is you can just go get you a part-time job, somewhere. So you already have your full-time job, or if you're an entrepreneur, you got that, you're making that 30, it's coming in great. Get you a part-time job, just working an extra, maybe 15, 20 hours a week. And if you do that for a while, that's going to add into your income. And they want you to do it long enough, though. So you can't just do it for a couple months. And it's, because they're going to, like Ms. Bree told us last week, they're going to basically go in, see if you've been making that money. I think for the past, I think it's 4 or 5 pay periods or something. Then they're going to come back during the pre-qualification. They're going to check it again. So you got to keep working, but doing that part-time also helps you to save some of that deposit money. And so definitely being able to just get a second job. One of the other things that we talk about is sometimes what banks look at when they're doing that lending piece, they're looking not only at your credit, they're looking at, of course, your collateral, your deposit, or if you have something that you can put down, like let's say if CDs or something, you can put something else down for the bank to give you the loan. They look at cash, they look at collateral, they look at your credit, and they look at your character. And the reason I mention character, those 4 C's, is because sometimes they're not only saying, okay, so this person has these things, but are they a good manager, of their money? Or can we see that they're going to be going upward in some way to make more money in the next, because normally your home mortgage could be 10 years. No, 15 years is the normal, 15-year mortgage, and it could be longer, 30 years. So they're going to be looking at, what are you doing to advance yourself to make more money, to make sure that you can afford that mortgage over the long haul. And so one of the things Mr. Versity talks about in this chapter 2 is regard to earning more money, is like going and getting certificates, whether you can get a CNA, you can get a CMT, you can become a truck driver. Truck drivers make a lot of money, that's all I want to say. But there's so many things you can do in the trades that don't take a lot of time to, kind of get yourself in a position to make more money. If, let's say, you're doing your 9 to 5, and whether you're a lawyer, a money person, IT, did you know that tutors make $30 to $35 an hour? And so what if you're just doing 10 hours a week extra or something, tutoring students? Again, it's not you don't have to have another full-time job. There's things you can do based off of kind of what you like or what you're acclimated into to make some extra money, and of course documenting it so that it can show income. So I just want to mention that. So there's different things you can do to do that. So the other thing you could do is you could just go get yourself another job making a whole lot more money, because you all do know there are tons of jobs out here making some good dollars. And you may just need to brush up your resume, know how great you are, kind of do an inventory of your own assets and your skills. Because sometimes we say in a job because I'm great at it, I like my friends, it's good, but are they paying you what you're worth and benefits and all that? It's okay to want more. Patrick Mahomes wanted more. Yep, I'm a hold on that because that game was amazing. So I just want to, I know, kind of hit that. Miss Bree, I know I'm just kind of talking. So give me your thoughts there on that earning more money, like, I don't know, sometimes people want the house right now, but sometimes, is it sometimes where people have come, they just don't make enough for what they want?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. The biggest part as to why I tell folks to go ahead and have that conversation with the lenders, all too often I had people where they were like, well, I'm not ready yet. And then they speak with the lender and they're able to be pre-approved for the house that they want. And then also on the other hand, I have had it where people have gone through with the process and they haven't been able to approve or to get approved for it, but they left with a plan. They left with a plan of exactly what they needed to accomplish in order to make that dream a reality. And even more so, if the lender is good at what they do, they'll give them a time frame. If you do this, this, and this. So to be honest with you, Ms. V, you hit it on the head. Sometimes it's just going out there and taking that chance and being uncomfortable and getting a job that does pay more. Because I don't know what the saying is, but there's a lot of great things that happen on the other side of discomfort. So stay uncomfortable. Always. So this is what I tell myself: stay uncomfortable.
Make it happen. Make it happen. And again, we go back to Mr. Mahomes, moving on that ankle. So y'all know he was hurting. Y'all can see. Like, oh. But he did it. He was like, I'm pushing through until I get there. And I know he's resting now for 2 weeks. He's gonna chill out and we're going to the Super Bowl. And I'm so excited. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there in Arizona, but I'll be watching it with, I'm pretty excited. I love football. I love sports, so I just want to share that. So I was quite excited. And thank you, Ms. Reed, for that, because the other thing that I wanted to then think about, so earning more money, but then also, let's say you don't want to, you need more income to be able to show, that more free money to make your debt to income ratio better. And remember, we talked a little bit last week about ways to make sure that you are showing better income. And some of that is, first, as Mr. Ross told us a couple of weeks back, we got to really figure out what's coming in, what's coming out. and when I talk about discretionary income and non-discretionary income. And I know that these are some terms I'm throwing out there, and they're in chapter 2 in the book. And so these are things that I wouldn't have said it that way before, but it's like, you know, it's speaking about how do you make sure that you're having more income coming in. Remember, we talked about how about some of those discretionary income items that are like the magazines and the coffees and all of that. You scale some of that stuff off for a while. That could definitely get it to where your bank account is showing almost automatically an extra $200 a month. And that's probably going to be a third of your house payment, because if you pay rent right now for about $1,500, you can get a house the same size and probably bigger for half of that. That's all I'm saying. And so, and if I'm lying, Miss Bree, I'm just saying it's a process. And I've seen it so many times. You're like, it's easy. We can go rent, we get our credit up to rent and everything, but we can get more space, more house, but we have to be in position. We got to be ready. And if we're not ready, we got to get ready, and we got to want to win something. And remember, Miss Monica said last week, sometimes when we're telling friends and family about all of this, they're like, yeah, that's good. I ain't ready for that yet. And that's okay. But we still have to share the information, because do you know that in most of your urban centers, and again, it doesn't matter if we're rich, poor, whatever, meaning people of color, we are not homeowners as a majority. We're renters. So we keep making other people rich. And it ain't their fault, is it? It's if we can do something about it. And if we can afford $1,500, $2,000 for rent, then we probably can be looking at affording to get our credit better, or put 100 or more aside for a deposit, for 5-6 months. Because if we can afford to make those payments on time, then that means we have good money management. We're doing some things right. Let's move those awesome skill sets into, if that's what you want. Because I've also heard a lot about sometimes people don't want to buy a house. They're really okay renting, and that's okay too. It's whatever you want. We're just, we can help make it happen. And Miss Bree, you are our real estate expert. I want to say thank you for that. And I know we put the savings and investing in there with it, on purpose. And in regards to, that investing piece, I'm going to definitely just I think we had already kind of shared a couple of our stories in regards to working with Mr. Brian Ross at Edward Jones. And, you out there, you may have your own financial advisor, or, as you're saving in the bank or investing for retirement, we just have to figure out how do we make it happen. Because again, you may or may not remember, I shared a couple of weeks back that I thought I would have to start with $1,000, $2,000 to start investing. And when I found out I didn't have to, it's like, well, silly me. I mean, and not stupid me, just silly me, because I didn't know, because I didn't do that research before 3 years ago. I didn't know. So I never really even tried. I saved, but not invested. And so because I didn't invest, then my money wasn't working for itself and, kind of doubling up. So I didn't know. But there's a whole lot of information about that as well. And of course, it's in, Mr. Versi's book, but also Mr. Brian Ross, as he shared some things, and he'll come back and share things with us. Remember, one of the things that he mentioned, though, is he really wants that when we come and talk with him more about those questions, or to any other financial advisor, we kind of have to know, what do we have to invest? Which goes back to, saving and figuring out, what do I have? What can I, kind of take away that I don't need, so that I can invest for my financial future. So, Miss Bree, thoughts there? Please talk to us.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I have to go and just expand on what you were saying about Mr. Brian Ross, because I use him as well. I can be honest with you, before I had a lot of a discomfort with having a conversation with a financial advisor, just because I felt like I didn't know enough. I felt like I needed to walk in there knowing enough to even have a conversation with them. I also share the same sentiment. I thought I had to walk in with thousands of dollars to be able to put towards anything for, anything for my money to do anything for me. And once I did have the conversation with Mr. Ross, the first time I spoke with him, I didn't invest anything. And it was great. I mean, I didn't have anything to invest in that moment. And the knowledge that I left out of there with Mr. Ross was just unfathomable. Now, absolutely, this can be your experience with any other financial advisor, but with Mr. Ross in particular, he just made me feel so confident in the fact that I took the first step, the huge step, to just even walk into his office and have a conversation with him. Like it's not a scary thing. It's not a scary thing to plan for your future. And he just confirmed that. So even more so now, I have monthly calls with him. We just get on the phone 15 minutes. I either tell him, hey, we've got things to invest in. Let's have a conversation. Or, hey, nothing's changed this month. It's just whatever it is. And it's almost like I'm just talking to my friend. Yeah, it's just a start. Someone who knows what they're doing. It's really nice.
Absolutely. And I think about, thank you so much, Ms. Free. My dad and persons of his, generation, when they were working, they worked at places that had pensions and all of that stuff, and not just 401ks, but they really, had retirement funds for them, so that if they worked somewhere for 20, 30 or 25 years, 30 years, they can retire and have pretty good cushions to live off of. Most of your companies now, they don't have retirement plans and all that for people. You go to work and you need to invest your own money, and so that's also a difference when you're like, so, because my dad, and other people I know, they didn't know about it in that way, but their companies did it for them. The companies were really invested in making sure that the employees that were loyal to them and came and gave their all, they did, make sure that they had retirement, because that was a value that a company knew was important to individuals. And so I'm not saying the company don't think it's important, but I am saying it don't happen as much. So we can take that wherever we want it. But the piece of that is, now it's up to us to make sure that if we know we're getting paid so much a month, taking $100 a month and beginning to make sure you're saving and investing. And we talked about making it automatic. And that's going to go towards your down payment for your house or anything else, or just an emergency fund. That's the other big deal. So I want to make sure that we just kind of throw that in. So that's the saving and the investing. And we are going to, if you all have other specific questions, real specific ones, then let us know those, because we want to give those to Mr. Ross so he can come and talk to us, because he goes deep into it. And Mr. Versii as well, and others as we learned about investing. But I know they'll love to talk with you about it if they know that that's some of your top stuff you want to know. So at this time, I would love it if Mr. George Walker would share with us about KUAW.org, because that's where we are today, and we really appreciate him being our engineer, and he and Mr. Jeffrey, and then also Miss Paris, kind of helping us to really be on the air here. We're in our own homes, we're doing Zoom, and they're doing the work, helping us to make some things happen. So Mr. George Walker, Mr. Jeffrey, talk with us about KUAW.org, or you want me to move and do it at a different time? All right. We'll come back then. You ready? Go ahead, please. Talk to us about KUAW. Talk to us. Talk to us.
All right, yes. You're listening to KUAW Radio. This is Kansas City's global community radio station. And actually, I'm hearing myself talk, man. It's kind of throwing me off. There we go. You're listening to KUAW Radio, Kansas City's global community radio station. And we're glad to broadcast to you on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We also have a 24-hour audio broadcast that you can pick up at TuneIn Radio, or if you have the TuneIn app on your phone, on Get Me Radio, on my online radio box, and at my radio tuner. If you have a smart speaker, a Google speaker, or Amazon, tell it to play KUAW, and you can listen to this show right now as it's going on live. So be sure and tune in. Tell your friends, like and subscribe to this show and the many other shows that are on KUAW Radio. Thank you. And now, back to Smart Money.
Mr. George Walker and KUAW. Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. That's what KUAW stands for. And so I like to say that because that's what we're trying to do. Give some knowledge, understanding, and wisdom so we can make our lives better because we can. I mean, we can do it together. We help each other to, be accountable and make things happen. And as you can see, I am having a good time. I'm enjoying myself. And for the last 3 years, we've been just helping each other to learn and like, wow, we can do that, and here's how you do it, and here's somebody, and it's just been amazing that we've been helping each other. So, pretty good stuff. So one of the things, thank you, that I'm going to just do a quick segue is that we've talked a little bit about how we're going to try to make sure that we're really spreading that, financial literacy energy, to you so that you can please spread it to others. And so please get people to not just listen, but maybe we'll begin to put little assignments on there and you can, win prizes for kind of going in, pulling down the assignment, and I'm doing that, putting your answers in, kind of like we were doing the Jeopardy questions last week. The reason that's important is that, how do we make sure, and it's not school, but how do we make sure that the information that we're given, that we're really helping the community to not just listen to us and understand, but be able to apply it. And so that's why we're trying to do a little bit more of that real education and the practical piece of here are some of the steps. And then if you have a question about the steps, call that person, call that expert, or you can leave us, a message on either, Facebook or YouTube. Just say, hey, I want to know about whatever, and we'll connect you to that expert. It's really important because we want to help you to really get there. We don't just want to talk to you. So that's really important. So let me quickly go into insurance and estate planning. The biggest thing with insurance, whether it's for your house, for your car, I think I've talked about, for carpet, it could be, of course, life insurance. How do we make sure that you're doing the things to cover renter's insurance too? I don't talk about home ownership, but renter's insurance even. There's a lot of people. One of the things that I saw last night after the game, and y'all need to tell me what y'all think happened, but with that fire, I really want to know because that was something else. There was a great big old fire up on the hill. And I was like, was it fireworks or was it some mad people? I don't know what happened. I just know that was a big fire. But it got me to thinking about insurance. If something happens to our, especially it's really, really cold right now. And so a lot of people, if they, for whatever reason, their electricity is off or, maybe can't afford it or, just it went out or something. So people are using those space heaters and everything. And so if something happens to their house and you're a renter, often the landlord is not going to be responsible for paying that for you because you're supposed to have renter's insurance. And it's really, really not that much. Sometimes wherever you are, it could only be $25-$30 a month. It's worth it because if something happens to in a place that you've been living in, unless you've been renting something for 2-3 years, all your stuff is in there. Your TVs, your bed, your furniture, everything. $30 a month is worth securing and saving everything that you have, built up and paid for, just in case something happens. It's like we have to have auto insurance. It's the same thing, even though you're not required by law to have insurance unless your landlord, says so. But it's important because people lose so much in their apartments, all the storms and everything. A lot of people didn't have renter's insurance, so they've lost everything. So I just want to mention that's the insurance side. And then estate planning, and we have Ms. Devoya Marshall. She's an expert with insurance. And if you have more questions about that, it's specifically if depending on wherever you live, let's say, you want insurance on your roof, or as you're buying a home, maybe you want to make sure that you have one of those warranty packages. That's really insurance that you can tap into, and it's 59 bucks a month. I know all those places are 59 bucks a month for that home warranty insurance. But if something happens in your new home for the first 2 years or something, then that warranty package will pay for them. Because one thing that happens when you buy a home, if it isn't spanking brand new, and sometimes even then, something could go wrong. I mean, when you go buy that dream house,
Unless it's an
often,
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you're good.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. And so, but sometimes something could happen, and that insurance will really help you to just be able to cover it. And it's not bad. That's life. So those things often happen. And people are like, well, it's a year out since I bought it, and they didn't tell me something was going on, but you should do your inspections and all other stuff that Miss Bree and they all tell you about all that. Go ahead, Miss Bree.
Yes, ma'am. So I far too often do I have to have the conversations about the costs of these things, but what you're doing is just taking the proper precaution to protect your investment. As everything that Ms. B has talked about tonight, whenever it comes to those 6 transactions, we're all taking the proper steps. They're all taking the proper steps to protect your investment. So we do inspections, which is the whole home inspections, just to make sure that if there are any issues with the property, whether you decide you want to deal with them or not, or even ask the current owner to, fix them. More times than not in this market, people are just like, okay, well, we're doing it for informational purposes only. That's fine. Okay, great. But at that point, then I do have the transparent conversation of, well, this can come up with an appraisal, which is something that then your lender puts in place to ensure that the money that they're giving you for that property is justified by the comps, by, the value of that property just in general. And then in place is the home warranty, just to kind of protect those little odds and ends that you may not have required of the seller to repair, but you don't want to be fully responsible in the first 2 years because you spent all your savings trying to get in there. So yes, ma'am, it's just protecting that investment is extremely important. Extremely.
And it's interesting because what I've seen often when people, they buy homes and something goes wrong later, that they have to fix, they normally take their mortgage money to fix that item. And then what does that do often if you don't have savings, which is why savings and all that's important, or this warranty, is then you end up, because you want your whatever to be fixed, your pipes or whatever's happening, and there wasn't a warranty. So you take your income that you're getting every month and you're paying for it, or you're getting extra loans, so you're paying those loans back to really fix whatever could, happens and it's not abnormal, but then you can get behind on your mortgage. Okay. And so that's the reason all these things are so important. And I know we're not trying to be circular, but once you buy a home, then it again, like if you get 3-4 months behind in a home mortgage, then often a bank or a lender, they can try to come in and take something from you. And so again, sometimes it's easy to get in a home, and then you go and you buy all the furniture and you buy all these things, and then you're out of money. And that's why we often want people to have 3 to 6 months of savings, because what if something does happen? If you have to be out of work for a moment or get sick, all of those things help you to then keep that asset that you just got. Because if you're going to do all those great steps and cross that finish line of getting your home or, your business or whatever you're getting, then how do we make sure that you also have some reserves that you built up as well to make sure that you can, if anything happens, that insurance, so to speak, to do that. Often with life insurance, there's sometimes, I always used to laugh at that Aflac duck because I was like, Aflac, but the reason I'm mentioning that is because it's a different type of insurance. It's about accidents. Sometimes we have an accident, and you have a car accident or something, and you have to be off work, right? And if it's not workman's comp, like on a job, then sometimes you're not getting money right away to while you're off. you're waiting on some settlement or something to happen. And if you had Aflac, and it happened to me, that's why I know, I got hurt and had to be off, but it wasn't work related, it was personal. And while I was off, then I got dollars to help me cover my expenses, living expenses while I had to be off because I just got injured and for me, it was not work related. And that again, it's a small policy, but I didn't even know about that until I started doing more of this financial empowerment piece. And I met another insurance agent that does those products, and they started meeting all these people. It was like, I didn't know this was out here, but we have to somehow know that it's out here, figure out what we need for us, because we don't need it all. And it's okay to do one transaction at a time. You start with one, and then you do another one, then you do another one. We don't have to do it all. So I just want to make sure that I'm mentioning that. So with that insurance piece, then let's talk about quickly estate planning. And then I want to just whip into quickly Fun Fridays and then tell you where we're going to be, where we're going to be this coming Friday if you want to come hang out with us. Okay. So estate planning, the biggest thing there that I think about for me, and that's my specialty, the Broadest Law Office, we're specialists in real estate, estate planning, and probate matters. I do have matters where I help a lot of my businesses, but they're going to be real estate businesses, environmental companies, and I help them with other matters. But for the most part, those are my three areas. And I do a lot of estate planning, but especially I had to do a lot of probate, especially during the pandemic, which was really a sad situation. But then I started really seeing how so many people, they had their loved ones get sick and stuff, and they went to the hospital. And because they didn't have power of attorneys or advanced care directives, they weren't able to first remember for those 2 years you really couldn't even see your loved ones sometimes. You couldn't even go in. And so they're inside making all these decisions for your loved one who probably wants you to make the decisions because sometimes they're, very, very sick. Sometimes people were incubated, but you weren't in there and there was no documentation in place. And so I found a lot of people coming to me at the last minute. They're in there and they were still in their right mind, because that's important too. You have to make sure that if I want my children to, if I get really sick where I can't think for myself or something, even for a minute, to make decisions for me, I have to do the paperwork now so that they can do that. Because if it's not there, if something happens and I can't say, yes, I really want them to do it, or it's not written, then 95% of the time, I mean, this is really serious, then the hospitals or other people are going to make those decisions for your loved one, which means they're making it for you. You know what I'm saying? This is really serious. So power of attorneys, whether it's healthcare, financial, advanced directives. And then when you think about just your future of if you have houses and lots of property, people often want to avoid probate. And that's not a hard situation to do. Sometimes, you can do beneficiary deeds to just transfer your property over while you're alive. Beneficiary deed means, though, which is great to know, it's not a quitclaim deed. Quitclaim deed says, I'm giving it to you right now, and I can do whatever I want with it with the quitclaim deed. Beneficiary deed says, I'm going to give you the beneficiary deed right now, but you can't do nothing with it until I'm gone. Okay, so it's just learning those differences and all of that. And then that's how you're able to avoid probate sometimes. And I say sometimes because it's never, sometimes I can't say 100%. It depends on if people can challenge different situations and all that. But the more that we have our things in order, our paperwork in order, telling the world and the court and our family members what we want, and it has to be notarized and signed and witnessed. I mean, there's a whole process. Once we do that, then our affairs will be more likely to be handled in the way that we asked. And if we don't do that, then we're asking somebody else to make decisions for us and our family. What if you have children that have special needs? What if you have senior parents, that you're guardianship for? All those things, if I don't put my thoughts and my wishes in writing about, even if I'm so sick and I've got 3 months to live and, if I fall out or something, do I want you to resuscitate me or not? Or do I want you to leave me alone and let me go? These are real questions. And if you don't put these things in writing, then that decision is going to be out of your hands. And so I'm a Missouri attorney, so I don't do those for Kansas or, Atlanta or anything like that, because I have lots of my friends all over the country. But I tell them, we need to find you an attorney. And I'm so serious about that because during the pandemic, it was horrible. My own friends and family, they couldn't make decisions for their people because there was no paperwork. And hospitals didn't let people in. Hospitals didn't let people take their folks out of nursing homes. I mean, because it's like the person couldn't. I'm just saying. So we'll come back to that another day. If you have other questions, please be sure, just put it on your survey. We'll send those out later. Or you can put it in the chat. And I promise we'll follow up with you. And these things, yes, they cost money, whether it is, how Mr. Alfred Jordan, he's a business attorney and he can help you do that type of legal stuff for your business. Services cost, but the real piece is that, does it cost more now or later? Have a peace of mind. And I think that's what we're trying to really say. How do we get what we want, manage it so that it maintains itself and doesn't just fall apart, and then we keep it in our family as we're trying to build legacy and build wealth. For y'all see, I'm on my soapbox. Okay, Patrick Mahomes said, "Go, go, go."
Yes, but we need more of all of that, Miss V. I learned so much just now. Like, we need more of all of that. Oh my goodness, so close to home.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So we wanted to hit those three. And in your survey, we're just going to ask, those listening, please let us know. If you want to know more of those three, let us know. But it's the other six, and remember, it is owning a home, owning a profitable business. That's important because that means you're making some money with it. Credit, insurance, estate planning. And what am I missing?
Investing and saving.
Investing. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't have the list in front of me, but any of those, and on your survey, just say, okay, here's some questions I had, and we can even email you some of those things. We don't have to wait till next Monday, but we are here to answer the questions and connect you to the folks that can help you to make your dream happen, make your transaction happen. So where are we going to be Friday, y'all? So what happens on Fun Fridays is Miss Bree and Miss Denaya, they actually, we'll go to different spaces, and we're going to be going to restaurants around the area or libraries, different places. And we're just going to kind of be there hanging out. And we're going to be, Miss Bree has a wheel, y'all, kind of one of those golden wheels. And so we're going to put names and stuff in the golden wheel. We're going to have a lot of fun. And while we're there eating or whatever we're doing, we're going to do the wheel, and then we'll pull out, questions and cards, and, give people like prizes and gifts and, stuff like that. So 3:30 on Friday, February 3rd, the first Friday of Black History Month, we're actually just going to go down to Nisia's restaurant, 64th and Troost. We're going to have she got some good fried potatoes down there. We're just going to go down there. We're going to eat. You can come by and join us if you want to. You don't have to, but that's where we're going to be. And we'll maybe send you a text or something to remind you, but we're just going to be there. And what we're going to do is we're going to get some of the names of people who, either stopped by there, or maybe they sent us an email or something and said, put my name in your wheel. But we're going to be kind of just, asking some questions and then drawing some names for some prizes. And then we'll be announcing those winners on next Monday, because we want to get everybody involved. So, Miss Bree, are you ready for that, Miss Bree? Are you
I am so ready for that. Shoot, Fun Fridays with you, Miss V. Come on, let's go.
We're gonna make it happen, and everybody can come. Anybody can come. But it's our way of going out and helping businesses. Again, remember, we keep our businesses alive. We got to go patronize them and stuff, but we can do it together. We can have fun, and they can, hopefully, sponsor us, give us gift cards, give us discounts. I know I'm saying that out loud because that's really what we want. If we bring 50 people to come eat, give us a discount. I mean, who knows? But we're just trying to make sure that we're doing all we can, though, to spread the word about where we are. So if you are a local restaurant, he wants to come visit you, put that on your survey, because we will come, and we're going to be going somewhere every week. So we got, I guess 50 weeks left or whatever. No, 52. 48 weeks left to go places. And we're going to go somewhere every week and take Miss Bree's wheel, golden wheel. And y'all going to see it. So it's pretty exciting, pretty exciting. Okay. That's pretty much all I have for now. I know it's 8:02. I did want to let you know, as we wind up, that there are a couple of really exciting businesses, small businesses that are in our network. They've been with us, for if not all, definitely a big part of these 3 years we've been doing it. So we try to promote them as well because they help us do different things. Miss Jamanda Dixon, she has a company called Melanin LLC, and Melanin Glows LLC. Sorry about that. And she helps us to kind of like go out and find different exciting products that we can promote. So as we can give away different free items and stuff, she just helps us to go and look. She works, a job, full-time job, but she has a dream of owning her own, promotion and marketing business, but with items, kind of like Vistaprint and all them type of things. So, but she's been with us for a while and she's done things. Well, she's done one of those six. She's done a couple of one of those six. So she'll come on soon and tell you about that. But we'll, meet her later. And then Miss Denaya Malbia, again, these are people that work with us. She's a young person in high school and she kind of comes and helps us. She'll be actually at the Fun Fridays. Right. Miss Denaya Malbia, she has like a treat company and she creates different little desserts and stuff. And we've had them and they're really good. But she's a young person just trying to take her passion and make money with it, So we want to encourage that. So I just want to mention people on our team that also have small businesses because it's about smart money news and business reviews. And it really is all about your money and your business. So just let us help you if we can. We love you guys. And Miss Bree, anything, talk with us for closing?
Just in closing, we're so excited to see everyone when you guys come out to Fun Fridays. We'll have a lot of different mixes whenever it comes to families, kids, just everyone who's ready to go ahead and take part in those smart money news and business reviews.
Go spin that wheel, spin that wheel. Mr. George Walker, please take us out. Take us out.
All right. We thank you for another great show. And now we'll say good night.
Good night. Thank you all.
Yeah, you're off the air.